Monton, Mona Lisa, I was just wondering what is my birth certificate based upon the vendor of buses. Don't know. It's just, you and me and you and I in relation to myself, because the Sarakatan of myself is the Dakatan of illegal, it's a distant, sustain. Not really. It's just flexible in relation to our Nikes, because in relation to our Nikes, oh, whatever. Anyway, Twiggy, in relation to the protocol, Twiggy, Desha, Desana, did you know I had a vision of you when I went Saturn when we first met? Oh. Do you work at Australian Front? I think so. Did you know, or did they know you were a drag queen? You're pretty camp. So anyway, in relation to the IBM infrastructure. Yeah. Anyway, in relation to the IBM infrastructure, the demotion of the Ikota Karekesi is the incursion of Codex in relation to the Pisanton, because Judith Twiggy is a drag queen, is he? No, he's a camp gay guy. Do I look like a camp gay guy? I don't really think so. It's just whenever I feel like it. Oh. But in reality of life, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm bloody 41 years old. And then in the century of our Veleno, the human resources based upon Judith Andre and Gusto of this Russia. How did I find Ross House? Oh. So anyway, the intuition of our Mimin is our Dalala of the mind game. If we can conquer the D code, because Leonardo, in relation to the alien brain, are they sextant? No. Are they later of evil days and how holder the invasion? Don't know. It's kind of hard for me to think about what to do to be a movie teller in relation to classes of English. So the birth tongue. Oh. It's just Okay. There you go. British colony. Mere Karstana Tadisi. I think my brain's pretty tired after encoding iteration of injection. So in that way, government, what kind of things to inject into your foreskin? I have a long one, so what? So in that time, my 9-inch TV, raw, is a plasma of LCD, or, my PPs. Oh, love it. So, in that way, Lady Gaga and Juggernaut. Do you like both this? I don't. It's just, I'm over it. So since I'm over it, any kind of things to do to realize that being the real fuck is just a victim of Luthor and getting the diamonds of the Twiggy into the no. So tricky. How do you, you know, sperm eat? Alexander being bisexual. Oh, disgusting. So in that way, Alexander being bisexual in relation to men, women. Do you enjoy sex in relation to a bureau of anti-discrimination by Langler? Because when you lay down low, you have two people. Duo looks like it. Is that threesome or just a fuck buddy? I don't know. It's kind of weird, isn't it? So, anyway. Anyway, everyone. Digital. Titties 8. So, I think my head is hurt. I don't know, I can't think. But since I can't think, do we actually illuminate into the DOS attack to HTC and economic the orange formula? Because he looks nice, but I don't like his eyes. He's that weirdo. Show me off. Show me off. In what by Samsung is showing me off in relation to grannies and irrigation of Nethmidel? Because the origin of our India is that Anakato is the Tangsa spirit of the hexagon. So how does it get out in relation to Tisha? But in that way, if we can also influence the mechanism of law, then we are not show myself off. What does that mean, show myself off, in relation to crutches of groins and paper cuts, the testosterone of G-string and melee, the bylaw? Because in the long way, bisexual, the center of bisexual is just, you're not a lesbian or gay. Do you know how that works in relation to the bisexual men having sex with women and men? It's just disgusting, isn't it? But in that way, since it's just disgusting, then how do we convert the Balangan? I'm pure gay. Are you? So when I see 29%, 36% or 5% of gay, you're not even bisexual. You're just an interest in relation to homophobia. But Tom Hanks in relation to homophobia, what kind of musician will understand first aid kit in relation to cross out the pantanal of Pausula and to measure the stocking steward of liberation? So, Aussie, dude, the accountancy of our own tax is only a clue of knowing that Homer Simpson has been decided to marry Maran. And in relation to Maran, the lost fox of the soul is the name of Denton. Do not saxophone Alan Lowry in relation to a third ace, because it bleeds the vinegar of Virgil. And in that way, the relationship to build long-term lasting by Dr. Lee is Velina. What is Velina in relation to skincare and testosterone? Tricky in relation to being So in that way, when it compromises the incrohrom of first aid, then directly of duo will be deafy in relation to mastermind. And in relation to mastermind, did you know that you have not predicted the second tales in relation to the elegance of insurer? So, TAC in relation to your, how do you know that your nose is smellable to cheer the fortune stick and crystal? The design intelligent. Oh, design intelligent. Isn't TSC CEO on YouTube that I had a long time ago? It's around somewhere. So in that way, the agony of ecstasy based upon Michael Thorne, your hybrid of Toyota, is the megaton of your. Then how come you have a spy glasses running around to meet me at dwarf law? And in that way, dwarf law means that the liberator can only extradite the sanctum of seatbelts. But in Seoul, how can we make a movie? So, any old cars that will burst into explosion, then if it does, who's gonna die in there? Someone will. So how do we do that in relation to special effects, visual? Really, yes, special effects, visual. But your conglomeration of fake bosom, tits, and things in relation to my sexuality, being bisexual, is just a negonom of motorbike riders in Alakaston of Triple K and Tristan of Diane, because the death penalty is based upon Les Zenon of Lebanon. Iran would develop the next special effects visually, is it? But how? Are you interested in relation to special effects visually? But in that time, do we know that the safety of drive and drink and crash is full load of drugs? I love drugs. Being since then, when I was 17 years old, AGSO, LSD, ecstasy, doesn't bloody work anymore. So in that time, Michael Thor what local law will purify the barrister. So in that way, Elise Revenant selling. Have we classed the subdevelopment of the gross net in relation to the syphilis? But how do we know that the dichotomy of the next 39 engine will be in the east center of Triple M by Dinston of Knowing CEO? First of all, Queen Elizabeth might be knighted. Second of all, the TAC CEO, I don't know her very well, but what am I going to call her? Tits. So in that way, Stefan, my old friend, the big bosom in relation to being off my Billy. Then, how to convert into being a hairdresser by turning a guide in relation to the Yukon of planet Saturn. So in that way, when you realize making the safety of the spaceship will be Velocitron into BHP and Saturn into Woolies. So, switch mob, do you realize that the swan of the Gulf is just a special in time of takeaway food and Triton of Treadle into Michael Jackson and to convert into TSC tits? How long does it take you to become a CEO, may I ask? It's just in relation to your compensation, the real truth of trial and error into what things barrister will be. Erin Brockovich, based upon 300 million by P&G. How do you frog the dead meat of the interspun spike of spy to know that Michael copy my movie with a surname and enjoy Toyota hybrid? So, 21 quest in relation to that hotel. Where is it? I can't find it anymore in the city. Space. So in that way, $200 a week in relation to your traveler. Do you know gay pub in relation to having sexual assault and bending Alan over to enjoy Cybertron? So, in that way, Twiggy. Our development of Baxton is that our history of our world is the ancient of Zazan. So, our validation of text file of agent will investigate into sales price. But DSC, Lucas value what in relation to your compensation? But the comprehensive of the compensation is that CBAS to ensure your Balafian. So in that way, Ju Zhang, CEO Tisha, in relation to TAC, the question of the news agent is based upon the honor, Fonko, Cesar. So in that way, Chapter 26, Clause, Encryption. How does the barrister, Lethal, the diamond of the blood in Africa, and to invest on the stock market, and to bank reserve into unicorn? Yes, shoot. Is a folklore stunning TV series by photography art. In relation to photography art, how do we know the decision of the bike rider is a ghost story of Nelisha Key? And in that way, Nelisha Key in relation to bank robbers. How does the stock market work in relation to Aviation Tisana by Queen Elizabeth to collect the hobby. What kinds of hobby do you like in relation to being a kid and maximizing into the florist of rubber doll and deaf tune, the balanceable amount of states twisting? If your finger looks like this, Andrew Straw, your finger scanner will eliminate Ned Kelly to Infocom, the hybrid Toyota. But in Seoul, your advertisement is a commitment of grace to form into Ray by Grant Eaton. Doesn't he eat Ray's pee every day? Is that paid? I think so. So Mexico in relation to Gates Day of Illumination by Illustist and Symptom of Dick Cakes. How do we, say goodbye in relation to barristers and bank fees? So in that way, the blessing of telecom is just a so CEO in relation to sun element of the gunning. How fortune sticks is only a variation of Shipatuto, the Skybadoo. So in relation to Gary's mother on the blessed of the moon, how do we liberate, the center for sound of wedding? So Adam loved based upon our reserve stock exchange. How do we know that the Barankasan of barristers is only a plenty of plans? And in so, the same constant the CEO does not enclose the nankapang of blister, but the in need of greed is just a barrelana of greed. So in that way, if we can't abandon the reservoir in relation to lakes and compromising the nickname of governor, then the point cook will describe. My neck hurts in relation to sleeping like a sheep. Oh, the sheep jump over the fence. The sheep jump over the fence. The sheep jump over the fence. Because, based upon my alien brain, I'm telling you a wire of truth. I'm not an alien, but I love aliens. So in that way, barrister, based upon our social none of selecting any kinds of although, how do we know that the plaintiff will maximize the inclusion of UTC? So in that way, we cannot redevelop the infrastructure of the third economy, because once we have Audi in relation to German, the testament of telecom is the palette of our own tube, the pipes, the sewage, So in that way, government sharing the spark of solid soul. The snake of Moses will sink into your remedy, but advocate and to command the commitment of law. And in so, if there is a second of our Iviligino, we will redevelop the building infrastructure because based upon revenue, our own stock market will comprehend the compression of decent. So, solicitor, based upon your plaintiff, where does Eric Nadani come from? CEO to Secretary, the Sergeant and Lufthansa, 300 million PG&A. Missy Elliott, based upon your cookbook album, the sender will implement the next of our gravity of our inner law, but this planet is an equation of the Ikana Tatsa by the Ikana Tatsa satellite, and to indicate the next beacon of the Safer, because the spaceship will fly through the planet and compromise the dignity of TIC. But the plaintiff, based upon C-term, the transmission of the data will signal into the Broadcom. Yes, and in that way, if we can review the sector in relation to our economy inferno, the provalacasai of our law will plantar the lieutenant into club sometime. But the clause in relation to your politician, the next tectator is that the nenana of suitable degree, then sleep like a sheep in relation to brainless bones and emphasis of Digwa. And in that way, Buddhism will enter in this. So native Indiana, Christian generation of Biela. So Hebrew in relation to supplement the surplus of the gross. How do we honor the criticism? Because the math condition of Matrana, the mysticism of physics, is the tone of stereotype and bilateral to 10.8p. And in that way, to 10.8p, it is the division of our liquid plasma to LC5 and LC1 in relation to D4. And in relation to D4, how do we next defragmentate our hard drive to safety our own portfolio before the backup file will illuminate into the system of black box for pilot to save the. So in that way, if the third the third amount of CEO. Oh, is that your name, TACCO? Oh, my toe hurts. See? So in that way, our conversion to program the inflation of Donald Trump, that the maximum number of propriety in relation to our legislation, the plaintiff will sophisticate into the hexagon of our teleguy But by so, when it does, it will compromise the decode of Linado, no, decode of our penguin. So in that time, when it does, the next electron will into Guy Reeves to perform the next equal of shows and to turn to show the payslip of Miss AT. So in that way, if our division based upon our infrastructure of the 51 economy is the Hakasham of the galaxy, so within the godlike computer, the Shaksasan of our avocation before the affiliate will be indexing into Google. But our machine in relation to Google and MSN, it will indicate that the duplication of our table tree by the database, it is hononon of the spider. I live in a digital world, and did you know that the spider would student the subdivision of our sentences, and in so, if human need resources by humanity, then the tax office will operate into ATO. What's ATO? So, cristing around based upon our bank statement of society, and in that way, the intellectual of TLA is that our bank stocking into the one that gave me $100. So in that way, Westpac, I used to run my business and started in Menton. Yes. So in that way, we are achieving the next diphthong of my niece. But my sister Lang, my niece, in relation to the scholarship, the next function of our own world is that our life will go low into my sister Lin. So in that way, Lin, how does the CEO affiliate into the Skantanton of the good? Stocking, exchange, currency. Are you interested? Stocking, exchange, currency in relation to our examination of mathematician and to Eagleson, the quiz show. Boy. So, CEO in relation to our, makeup artist. By Stefan, my old girlfriend. Your bosom is massive, but who cares? So in that way, being a stylist in relation to fortune stick, the production of intersay is that our hierarchy is the minimum of 3 to 2%, and the valuation of forency is only 1 to 3, and 3 to 6, and 3 to 4, and 2 to 1, and 5 to 8. And in that way, the institution of ISTO is the nugget of researchers for human. So in time, when we compromise the stock market to rework into our lesser, the country makes the country, the town makes the town, the town makes the CEO, and the history of hierarchy is now. So in that way, the transition of the tripod is a flip-through of bankruptcy before a recession will start. So in that way, if we complete the nanan of or, then our attribute will be HTC 5321 master and HTC 5326 master and HTC 5128. I used to have a phone mobile called O2, started with Orange, the company, but now they're gone. Then I ended up with bankruptcy. I hate money. Why? I'm not telling you. So in that way, business owners, the frequency of our own exchange rate will be converted into the total of the franc. And in that way, if it does, then the circulation of our REV will be of dollar in relation to our article and to transfer the valuation of instrument to the society of stock market and into the beginning of our blue world to educate our own loans. So Vlad, in relation to our own loans, what percentages is interest in relation to the stock bank? Stock bank? Well, let me measure this calculator in relation to its argument by Sintang. So in relation to by Sintang, how do we foreclose the validation of 61 Berlin? Or, so in that way, when we hire the Voltron in relation to meat-eaters, then the diploma of anti-fracture of Tuxton will be reclaimed in relation to the E. So, if we can't compromise the Ishanam of default, then the vacancy of state trustee will blacken the solicitor to plaintiff, the Tetsusan of tampon. But based upon your own thing, the biohazard is that the production of our own safety to form that the manhood is insanely. So in that way, the balloon in relation to your own cellular is an advocate. Oh, sorry, wait. Yeah, wait. All right, bye. Sorry. Bye. Yeah, you probably can. Yeah. You got your lunch and stuff? Yeah, see you, mate. Yeah, see you when you get home. All right. Yeah, bye. So, my so anyway, am I cap? I think so. No, not really. Sort of. No, I can't bloody tell you my personal. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, what did I just say? Okay. The equivalent of the EFLA is that the ANA of the SEO search engine optimization is that the verification of our table tree is the conclusion of our barrister. in relation to our customer affair. What is customer affair? Is there law? I don't know. But in relation to human resources, the information of work safety is that the capacity of our work cover is that the capacity of Michael Thor, because he gave me a TAC brochure. Then our work safe is that the vitamin of our barrister will know. It's hard, isn't it? Slater and Gordon and Morris Blackburn. In that way. So, things we do to implement our infrastructure to educate our own citizen. So in that way, when we compromise the echelon of our loans, we will be weep into the biolungason of our own optus and to say our work safe. So in plaintiff, the blackenden of Pisacat is the nakanan of our law, and to instant our infalow by plaintiff. But the 300,000 one is a commitment of decompression, because the commitment of decompression is our balantha of our own states. And within so, our own state is that America is huge, but Africa is what? In relation to the stock. So in that way, when we can stock the Nintendo of our so anyway, in that way, if we can illuminate into the criticism of our own achievable administration, but barrister, what is administration in relation to our liberation of comfort and different into that? So within that way, the hierarchy of the sustained sustenance of its own staba is that our own bilateral of conference is our economy. So our valuation of our law is an inclusion of weekly loans to flock on our wage and to income the design. And in that way, TAC, the productor of the government is a witchcraft of chaos to identify where safe is. So in that way, if the criticism of our composition of the irrigation by harvesting into the filth of pork chop and to indicate breadcrumb and to align broccoli and eggton our lanes of hazelnut solar energy. So within that way, we are executing into the dealing of tablecloth and Eastern. So in that way, how do we convert into the history of our law and to indicate the blessing of our Alanga? Because within our testifier, our hierarchy of the 31 economy is the Bakasan of the plaintiff. But the future production of our land, the Lord has not segmented the hammer to buffalo that our key is not accessible in relation to the income of our, because it locks away in our encryption of the codex and to perform the next history of our garden. So in relation to the term, the decision of our distant It is our only way to know that our work will through and our nay will not. But in each time, the signal of our own society is a phenomenon of our layer. So, Thurston monofiber, the nicotine of our own star testimony is our validation of smoke safety. But in time, gambler, in relation to your own crowd, then how do we insurance our own velocity of income? So in that way, if we can conflict the deflate of our work, then our aura will compromise the decoration. So, Asia, in relation to our town, we have, we do. So in that way, my mom is just my mom. My coefficient of breadcrumbs is juvenile in relation to the 31 academics resources to Photoshop our last one. Our third amount in relation to our academics result is based upon our transam and to only the 51 academics standard because in time the 22 position of our galaxy is that our space is Pluto. But in Pluto, based upon the starburst, it will blur into the Gravana of Mother Mary because see what you find